Greetings, my name is Barry Fearson, PSR engineer out of Austin, Texas, and for today's video we will be working on and capturing the migration steps from RPAD to DMA 10. Before we begin, it's important to review a couple of the limitations. First off, if we're upgrading appliance servers, the Dell R620 server, we will not be able to do an upgrade or a migration. It would need to be a brand new install. So the ISO DVD would need to be used to do flashing and reimage of the RPAD to DMA Edge. The supported servers will be the R220s, R230s, R620s, and R630 servers. I do know we have a new 640 server being released and used, and there's a video on that later. For virtual edition and server requirements, that needs to have 16 gigs of RAM and at least 146 gigs of hard disk space. Once again, if you're using R620, you'll need to reimage it to DMA 10 and select Edge configuration. For today's demonstration, we will be upgrading an RPAD, DMA, and RPRM small customer environment and validate that all calls work. For all the supported HA and clustered configurations, the release notes have what's supported and what's not supported in reference to pairing with 620, 630, 220, 230 servers. And I'd advise you to take a look at that, as well as the maximum capabilities of core servers and edge servers and configuration. So, as I mentioned, today we will be upgrading a customer's environment, and in this case, we need to validate all software versions. Logging into our RPAD. We can see that we are at version 4.2.5. The requirement for upgrading to or migrating to DMA 10 is a 4.2 build of any flavor. So this is ready to be updated once we're ready to do so. The most important part is before you upgrade anything, the DMA core would need to be on version 10 first. Let's confirm our build here. And we are at version 9.0.1. Per our upgrade path, we are capable of upgrading from a 9.0 platform to version 10. So this one will require an update first. Likewise, since we are working with RPRM and it's part of the configuration, we might as well make sure that this is up to one of the later versions. As we see here, this is on version 10.3. The GA version at this point is 10.5. So right now, we're going to go ahead and upgrade RPRM to 10.5, upgrade my core DMA to 10.0, and then come back and upgrade our RPAD to 10.0 and begin configuration, etc. Now, to demonstrate where we can find the software, we'd go to the support.polycom.com site. uh, Documents and Software, and select UC Infrastructure. Our DMA software is found here. Our Resource Manager software is found here. For right now, we'll go ahead and open up DMA. Here's the Virtual Edition software, which is basically a link to take you to Flexera. Let's open that in a new tab. And this is for the ISO. Open that in a new tab. And this is the USB configuration utility. I will not need that right now. And this is the DMA 9.0 upgrade to DMA 10 check. We want to accept the agreement, accept the other agreement, and it is downloading in the background here. You will also notice here there's a RPAD 4.2 upgrade to DMA 10. We're going to need that as well. And as you see, they're stating to be two different files, so important to go ahead and grab them and use them accordingly. For those that need to go to the Flexera site, you'll see here you're getting a redirect. You need to log in. The login here is your support portal. Actually, this is for the ISO. So here it needs an activation code to allow you to get to the ISO. The ISO itself is also stored on Flexera site. So this is, again, the redirect to go to Flexera. Log in. It's spinning. Okay, I logged us in. Let's try that again. DMA, Virtual Edition software. Please wait. And as you see, we are now at the Polycom Real Presence Licensing Center, which we all know as Flexera. So scrolling to our account. Here we'll be able to find recent files posted. And from here, we'll be able to find our upgrade files and everything that we need for the virtual software, which could be different than the regular bins. Here we have the Resource Manager 10. We want the upgrade file, but more importantly, DMA 10. Virtual Edition software upgrade file. I agree. Now, it's important not to just click this box and do this. You're going to get an error mentioned because of this is tied to something else that we don't actually have in use. So don't click that and click download selected file. Simply just click on the link at the far right side here. So go ahead and click, and this will download into your regular downloads folder. And this is something that Flexera is working to remove. This was tied into Akamai download servers, and those that's had that as that plugin and service. That's, I think, a paid service. So that allowed them to use this. We are not using that, so we are going to use this, just the links. So if customers have an issue and they're doing this, please just have them click on the link. So these files are all being downloaded. What I'm going to do now is quickly upgrade our Resource Manager to 10.5. Then I'm going to upgrade the DMA to version 10. And then I'm going to come back to my RPAD and work on that and then rejoin you on video. Okay, so we've simply upgraded Resource Manager to 10.5 and our DMA to 10.0. We're going to go ahead and log into Resource Manager and our DMA. And we will validate that calls work. However, we want to double check and clear out our issue here. The release notes actually state to where to go in and actually had cleared this, where it says to go to admin server network settings. That's admin server network settings and adjust the system ports here. However, for this specific error message, it's stating the service 323 range conflicts with the system imperial range, and we need to split those apart so there's no overlap. So it would probably be better to go to the service config and 323 settings here, and we can modify the port range settings. So we don't want to really change anything with the first port range. So that means 5200, 3600. So let's go ahead and bring this down to we'll update that and come back and we'll validate that calls currently work before we work on upgrading our RPAD to DMA 10. So, okay, now to place a quick test call to validate everything is still working before we touch RPAD here. We'll see that we have endpoints registered. I'm currently using one of these accounts as a login for my RPD, and let's see what we can get in here for an active call or if the call will currently fail. Let's see here. We have any active calls? We see that I've placed a call. And this is my registered endpoint, the mobile. I'm dialing the alias of a device on the LAN, and we can look at this here for our endpoints. You can see I'm dialed in. I'm coming through the site RPAD and placing that call. I'm actually dialing the alias, this guy, 441002, and through monitoring active calls, we see that we actually have one here. So let's go ahead and disconnect the call. And we will work towards upgrading or the migration process of our RPAD. Go ahead and run our backup. Save it to my desktop. And work towards our software upgrade. Here we're going to upload. What do we have here? This is the software version I downloaded, the GA build, 7823. Notice it takes the UPG file, so this is the one that's labeled RPAD forward-2.x to DMA 10. Now I could have selected upload and upgrade, but I wanted to just do the upload. Upload complete, close. And now we see we have an upgrade option here, so we can go ahead and take care of the process. So let's click the upgrade. Okay. This is the page it's displaying. This right here, open in a new tab. Let's see what the, yeah, okay, so this is the status page. We'll keep this one open, but we'll check this one from time to time to see if this URL is working correctly. So and summarize of time, it took for the DMA, it took about 30 minutes for the upgrade. Resource Manager, I had to do 2 steps. It was on 10.3 and I upgraded to 10.4 and then 10.5, and I had a couple issues where I was watching it work, thinking it was working, but it actually had stopped working. I think it was a GA version versus the 10.4 build that I was working with was an engineering build, so shouldn't have that much, shouldn't have any issues at all updating Resource Manager, but that's not a part of the scope of this video. So we'll just pause here while this works. So it's been a few minutes. As you see, our green bar is quickly traveling across the screen. The URL here for the 8080 /status.html does not bring up anything yet, and that's what this upgrade status page shows. We'll go ahead and pause while it continues the process. So I wanted to cut back to our upgrading here. As you see, the screen has just changed. Again, it says once complete, here's where you can return for the upgrade, but here we see the logs that we had started. In this case, 1127 package installer begins. So you'll be able to take the whole total scope here of the total time it's taking. The application log is logging everything that it's doing, so therefore you'll have that data available in the logs that may help troubleshoot anything. Overall percentage here, currently 30% of installing the DMA application packages. So just go ahead and pause out here and let it continue to run. Okay, so cutting back here, we see now we're at 100% of the install. It shows here the 11:35 time frame, so that took from 27 to 35, a few minutes. Installation's complete here. So basically it's going to reboot, and shortly we'll be able to go to access this link here once it's complete. So since I have this window open in this other area on here, so I've got two browsers open with the same window. Let's go ahead and just try this link here. The browser is now pointing to IP address :8443/edge, and we'll just wait to see what happens here as it's attempting to do its connection. Yeah, so probably want to give it another 5 minutes. Okay, and we're back. Just wanted to top out the bottom of the application log. It is actually changed here where it says this is no longer available. So server is online, though this file is no longer available. So we've clicked on the link, which opens up another window, which continues to still not be ready yet. So we definitely want to give it its opportunity to do its upgrade. So let's just be patient and let it run. Okay, we're actually making some headway here as we're now receiving the feedback from what we're normally used to seeing from a web page in Chrome. So clicking on this, we will see that our device at our IP address has now turned into real presence DMA and in an Edge configuration, which is all RPADs, right? So we'll go ahead and try our login. Still don't know if it's too early yet, but and we want to automatically send usage and accept the agreement. So at this point it is 11:45, 11:46 on my PC. We started at 11:27. Fairly quick process on doing the upgrade. However, we do see here, while things are loading up, we do see here we're going to have to clear some items with these 4 alerts. So let's go ahead and take a look at these alerts. User action is required to complete the restoration of backup, and that's the image file that we have. There's a port conflict detected. This is on the Access proxy, and of course there's an overlap, so we want to lower these down. And same with this here, so we'll take a look at those. Cluster RPAD SSL certificate is incompatible with the cluster's network settings, so we'll take a look at that as well. So again, customers upgrade, and this is what we've got, and now we're going to go ahead and look to get these resolved one at a time. Okay, so these errors, first off we want to take a look at the backup page. And then we'll address the ports. Let's see here. User action is required to complete the restoration. Credentials are needed for completion of registration sharing setup. To resolve this, go to service config, call server settings, and enter the registration sharing user credentials. So again, that's service config, call server settings, and down here below we have our registration sharing settings. I'm going to use our and we are going to update. Server settings have been updated, and go back to our list. Let's go check the backup page. We're going to click Once we've done that, we can go ahead and click the dismiss notification. And again, check our page. I think this has been handled. A user action is required to complete the restoration. Yeah, this has again been handled. There you go. It's already updated. So now we're dealing with the port information. And to the ports. System port range. We have our access proxy ports conflicting with our other ports. So let's see here. We want to lower this down to 2s to 3s. Here's that. Let's just do this way. Port range. Bring this back down to, let's see here. That'll conflict with this. So 3 to 4, 4 to 451, 5. There we go. That should complete that. We hit OK. Active calls. Hit yes. And let's go monitor our alerts. And we have a registration sharing failed. This might be 8443. That's important to have 8443 open between the two boxes. So I will take a look at that as well. We have our certificate that we need to deal with. And let's do that now. So we have this note. So I'm going to revert back to the default and then apply the cert that we have from GoDaddy. So let me revert to default. So we have to select restart to apply the save change. Let's go ahead and do so. And we'll give it the 5 minutes to boot up here and log back in. Okay, let's go ahead and try and log back in. Does not appear to be ready to log in yet, so a couple more minutes. And I reloaded the page, so because the cert was changed. Okay, so here we have the cert restored. There's no alerts currently. However, we want to go ahead and put our other cert back on. Server. We have our certificates. And nope, it's not there. Hold on one second. Okay, so we've got group policy killing our certs as we extract them. So anyhow, you might run into that with our corporate image. Upload cert. Let's try this again. We have our 2 certs here. We'll go ahead and grab the larger one. Open. And okay. Go ahead and add the other one too. Why not? See what happens. There it goes. Yeah, we need that anyway. So let me go ahead and restart to apply the save changes and log back in 5 minutes. Stand by. Okay, we're going to, at this point, just reload the page. See if it comes up. It's not exactly ready yet. Let's just wait a couple more minutes. And it looks like it might be getting closer. Proceed. Okay, so we're back in. Let's take a look at our certs. It's admin server certs. So this is a lot better, and no alerts at this point. Everything looks good. So once you've completed your migration, now it's time to test calls. We've simply already tested calls and found that this existing database has not updated correctly based off of some of the pre-configuration of the previous RPAD migrated to the latest build. So as mentioned earlier in the video, you'd always want to use the latest versions. I know we've captured a 10.0 version update. However, we've already gone through and backtracked and updated to a 10.001 build and reverted back to our RPAD database, and simply calls still do not work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save the condition of this box, and we're going to use this as an example in Andover's workshop for debugging and troubleshooting, and we'll move forward there. But to talk about debugging, areas that we want to look at, we'll go ahead and point out at this point. So first off, from the alerts, we cleared the alerts earlier as seen in the video. However, looking at our alert here, it's triggered that we've got sharing, the registration sharing is failing between our RPAD or DMA Edge now and our DMA core. So as a general note, it uses port 8443, and that would be required in the topology for that to be open, and because registration sharing is required for Edge and DMA core. So in this case, 8443 is open. We're all on the same LAN, 36144, and DMA's 36152. We're basically neighbors. So this is one thing that you'd want to clear at a customer's location. You'd never know. You could have a firewall in between your Edge and your LAN side core DMA, and therefore 8443 is a new port required to be open in that aspect. So clearing the alerts is important for debugs. The other area is under the reports and looking at ACL denials. You'll want to go through the ACL denial page. You'll want to be looking for specific information for registrations and perhaps calls. All of these denials for the SIP scanner, as you see, we're being pounded on, but this is a good thing, right? For it to be denying access from the outside world, but good to look at and find any kind of registration areas. I believe some of the filtering features in here are a little off, so I don't know if they've done a lot of testing with this area, but if you go ahead and try to filter on some of the material here, uh, it's a good idea to see what you can come up with. So and focus on clearing anything such as registration and calls. And for another area, I believe it's under the let's see, dial plans, testing of dial plans. So if you're trying to call something, for example, let's see, and we're from the Internet VPN, we can go ahead and test this, see if we've got, see, so even placing a call from a device on the Internet VPN to a registered alias, which this is, it's my dial rules is telling me that I'm rejected by all the dial rules. So right here is a good spot for testing information and call flows for troubleshooting that section. Again, we'll work on that a little bit more in the workshop. The registration policies in here is important. Originally, for some reason, I don't know if it got toggled or what have you, but we were using Edge, because this is the Edge device. We're using the Edge registration policy. However, the compliant action was allow and non-compliant action was also allowed. Trying to stop some of the SIP scanners that's coming in, that's important to reject or block or deny or here. And if we look at the we have accept, block, quarantine, and reject. Currently, we've got this set up as reject at the moment. So, and let's see, another area to review. Let's see here. It's good. Well, let's talk about this area. This is ACL variable. So again, ACLs are important. It was something on RPAD that if you've done the update or migration, that these would have been imported to try and be used. It's been stated that anything with an underscore in it was imported from old RPAD, and those without are I believe newer ones, or something called now default, based off of a derivative of what was in the previous RPAD. I can tell you with this particular customer, this specific box, some of the default values were modified with information tied specifically to the customer, and therefore when migration had occurred, it actually broke a couple things in here with 10.0. I believe 10.001 as well, which should be making its way to the release shelf. So important to note, as an FE, if you're on site before you do the migration, you may want to look at what they have on RPAD for the ACLs and other data there. So let's see, SIP. These are our, everything here is really just imported, so nothing special here. Let me look and see. So the access proxy settings, whatever the customer had previously, you'd want to make sure is still set up and um, entered here correctly. Again, we notice we did mention or make changes to the port range settings. That was in here. But need to confirm or double check information so things will work correctly. If you recall, this is dealing with more of the registrations for the information through the RPAD back to Resource Manager so we can get a provisioning profile. So this would be an area to look at in the event that you're having issues in that realm. And I believe there was another scripting area. Let me see if I can find it. Be right back. Can't seem to locate it. So there's another scripting area where you could put in some information and find out if you're compliant or non-compliant. My registrations currently, I know in the state, they're coming in as non-compliant, even though we're provisioned to talk to Resource Manager, and therefore we're denied calls. So this will be a good box to actually test and debug with on during the workshop in late January. A couple other areas, you have your call history and registration history. We already looked at ACL denials, but the registration history can show information that's pertaining to details that can help resolve issues. You have your view details for any entry here, and you can come down and you can see registration status rejected due to policy failure. So once again, this one's because we've got the setup as in to reject versus block versus quarantine. We're getting rejected here because of our policy. So we'll probably come up and create yet a new video strictly for debugging. But at this point, we're going to go ahead and close this video out to give you an understanding of the migration steps that we've ran through. Now, of course, this is a failure. But we need to keep that in mind when we're going to go on site to work with the customer and upgrade. Upgrading your device, your core device to version 10 is not an issue. You can actually use the core at version 10 and previous versions of RPAD, which is 4.25 is the latest, and they will continue to work fine. We're going to continue to test and come up with this other material and a video for strictly doing debug, and hopefully it will help those in the field as we come down the line. Obviously, every release that's released to the website is an enhancement of the software, so therefore we should always be running the latest version. We don't want to be debugging known issues that's already been resolved, but I know that's easier said than done. So anyways, this concludes the video. I hope you found it helpful, and we will continue to make material that can help folks, and thank you very much.